Today, we're going to tell you a story that will remind you of the power of family bonds and the importance of never giving up hope. In the small town of Milton, Indiana, lives an elderly woman named Rosa Clark. Her life has been filled with challenges, but one event became a true miracle for her, reuniting with her brother after more than 70 years apart. This is a story about how love and persistence can overcome even the greatest obstacles. Rosa was born in the 1930s into a large family. When she was just 5 years old, her older brother Thomas was sent to live with distant relatives due to difficult circumstances. From that moment on, their paths diverged, and war, relocations, and the lack of modern technology made their search for each other nearly impossible. But Rosa never stopped thinking about her brother or dreaming of a reunion. As children, Rosa and Thomas were inseparable. They grew up in a small farmhouse where every day was filled with simple joys, playing together, taking long walks through the fields, and sharing evening conversations by the fireplace. But in 1938, everything changed. Their parents faced financial hardships and made the difficult decision to send Thomas, who was 12 at the time, to live with distant relatives in another state. For young Rosa, it was devastating. She remembered standing on the train platform, holding tightly to his hand and promising they would meet again someday. But as the years passed, her letters to Thomas went unanswered. Later, she learned that the relatives he lived with moved frequently, and all contact was lost. Rosa grew up, got married, and devoted herself to her family. She had children and grandchildren, but thoughts of her brother never left her mind. She often told her kids stories about Thomas, showed them old photographs, and said that one day they would find him. When Rosa turned 85, she decided she could wait no longer. "I have to find him," she told her granddaughter, Lisa. "If I don't, I'll regret it for the rest of my life." Lisa, who had always admired her grandmother's determination, offered to help. She began searching online, using old documents, family records, and archives. The search took several months. Lisa scoured dozens of genealogy websites and reached out to people who might have information about Thomas's whereabouts. One day, she stumbled upon a forum where someone mentioned a man with a similar name and story. It was James Holt, living in Greenville, Ohio. Lisa contacted local authorities and charitable organizations to confirm the information. When she received confirmation that James Holt was indeed Thomas, her heart raced. She immediately told Rosa, who couldn't believe her ears. Organizing the meeting wasn't easy. James, now 92, lived in a nursing home in Greenville. He had long since lost touch with his family and barely remembered his childhood. However, when Lisa called him and told him about Rosa, he was deeply moved. "I always knew I had a sister," he said, "but I thought she'd given up looking for me." Rosa and James agreed to meet in a week. During that time, Rosa couldn't sleep. She prepared for the meeting as if it were the most important event of her life. Her children and grandchildren helped her get ready, understanding that this moment would change their family forever. When Rosa walked into the room where James was waiting, time seemed to stand still. She saw an elderly man with gray hair, but in his eyes, she recognized the boy she had played with as a child. "Tom," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. James stood up, took a step forward, and embraced her. "Rosie," he said, "I've waited so long for this moment." The meeting was an emotional explosion for both of them. Rosa and James spent the entire day talking about their lives, families, and memories. They showed each other photos of their children and grandchildren, compared their stories, and marveled at how much they had in common despite decades apart. James shared that life after moving in with relatives had been tough. He worked at a factory, served in the military, and traveled extensively. But thoughts of his sister stayed with him. "I often thought about you," he told Rosa, "but I didn't know how to find you." Rosa, in turn, spoke about her life, raising her children, how her husband supported her in the search for her brother, and how she never lost hope. "I always knew we'd meet again," she said, "and here we are." This moment became symbolic not only for them, but also for their families. Rosa and James's children and grandchildren watched the reunion, feeling their hearts fill with joy and pride. They realized that family ties are eternal and can withstand any trial. After the meeting, Rosa and James began communicating regularly. They became part of each other's lives despite the distance between Milton and Greenville. Rosa often visited her brother, and her grandchildren helped organize video calls so they could see each other more often. James started sharing his memories with Rosa's family, telling stories about his childhood and how he dreamed of returning home. These stories became a treasure for the entire family, bringing them even closer together. Rosa also began recording her own memories, wanting to preserve them for future generations. She wanted her children and grandchildren to understand how important it is to value family ties and never give up searching for loved ones. The story of Rosa and James is a reminder that family bonds can withstand any trial. Despite 70 years apart, their love and connection remained as strong as in childhood. "We lost so much time," Rosa says, "but now we have a chance to be together, and that's what matters most." James adds, "I'm grateful to fate for this meeting. I realized it's never too late to find the people you love." Their story inspires others not to lose hope and to keep searching for their loved ones, even when it seems impossible. This story is an example of how love, persistence, and faith can work miracles. It reminds us that family is the most important thing in life and that it's never too late to reconnect lost bonds. Thanks for watching. This story is based on real events, but the characters' names, places of work, places of residence, and other details described in the story are fictitious. Any resemblance to real people, living or dead, is purely coincidental. We respect the privacy of the people involved in the real story and avoid any details that could be perceived as an invasion of privacy.